Hey, what's going on, everyone? I just got up maybe like 30 minutes ago, so it might take me a little bit to warm up for this video. And I'm keeping the car on here because it's quite cold outside these days, so I have it at 85 degrees. So hopefully it doesn't interfere with the sound too much. But I just wanted to kind of make this quick video, maybe like 10 to 15 minutes, just to give myself time to get a little bit more woken up before I hit the workout here. I did find like a great gym right across the street while I'm visiting my parents, so I'm pretty happy with it. And I just got like a month-to-month membership, and I've been coming here for like 2 to 3 weeks already, and just really happy with it. It's probably honestly like the cleanest gym I've ever been in ever. So it's really cool. But I was chatting with one of my clients the other day about like motivation and how to stay consistent and stuff of that sort. And I just wanted to kind of make a quick video on motivation, and even if it has like a place and time in your health and wellness or aesthetic goals or whatever you're trying to accomplish, etc., etc. And honestly, from 19 years of kind of doing this professionally and coaching people, and honestly directly and indirectly being in the field for like 39 years already, I really don't find motivation to be very effective or helpful for anyone whatsoever. It might provide them like false hope or kind of like sugar highs, a little bit of bursts of activity, but really long term it really doesn't do much. So I'll just in this video kind of describe what's worked for me, and I've been like literally like consistent with my goals, extremely consistent with my workouts, extremely consistent with good eating habits, etc., and other lifestyle habits as well, for like pretty much my whole life. Okay, so 39 years already, so there's something to it for sure. And trust me, I don't really use motivation to help me be this consistent. Okay, so motivation, the thing with motivation is kind of, it works in situations where basically, like for example, there's someone there beating you with a whip for the most part. Okay, and then for sure you're going to be motivated to kind of like hustle more or work out more or earn more money or whatever your goal is at the time. But once that kind of stimulus disappears, that person, etc., disappears, just typically it all falls apart quite quickly. And even in the moment, it's not really quite effective either. So a good example for that is just look at in-person coaching, for example. Even with, and there are many variables to discuss here, I'll probably have to just create a video on this altogether. But even with in-person coaching, notice that a lot of the clients just literally look the same year after year and don't change at all. Although in-person coaching is quite expensive, you're looking at, depending on the model, you're looking at $80 to like $120 a session, and they literally look the same year after year. And usually what ends up happening is the trainer in that situation just ends up being kind of like a rent-a-friend. So typically someone to kind of chat with in between sets, someone to kind of keep track of your reps, etc., etc. And that's for the most part like 98.5% of in-person coaching. There are some legit in-person coaches that are beyond amazing, but it's so rare and so far in between. And usually those coaches, they usually do like the thorough assessment in person, but they don't quite coach you. They might do like an introduction to some training program, like maybe give you like a week of coaching just to help cue you and kind of understand the flow of the program, but they don't quite like coach you as in count your reps, etc., etc., and stuff of that sort. The really good coaches, they assess you very well, and those assessments are extremely valuable, but they don't sit there and chat with you in between sets. Basically, they're not like a rent-a-friend, they're there to give you amazing information, which is a huge upgrade, and you'll be able to use that information for the rest of your life. But that's about it, and stuff of that sort. So you look at like, I need to hire an in-person coach or a coach to get motivated. And it just doesn't work, even if like there is some progress during the program. The second that program ends, there's typically a relapse, and also there are many reasons for that. A lot of people use exercise and nutrition as a symptom management approach too. And in my opinion, for sure, it's better than, using drugs and medical drugs and stuff of that sort. But again, managing symptoms only yields more symptoms over time, even if you're managing those symptoms with exercise and diet, so you got to meet the problem at the level of the problem, as one of my favorite authors would say, Stefan Walensky. And if you're not meeting the problem at the level of the problem, then the problem persists, so it's important to consider. So in this video, I just wanted to cover just some quick tips, and I'm just off the top of my head. Of course, there's a lot of nuance here that I won't be able to cover, but just some quick tips that have helped me be very consistent over the years. So first and foremost, I mean, the biggest foundation to consistency is, your mental and physical health has to be part of your DNA and character. It has to be your top core priority in life. That's it. That's really what it comes down to. It has to be solidified in your belief system. And if it's not, the problem is mental and physical health deteriorates quite quickly when not in use. So you have to kind of like do it all the time, or like extremely frequently in general. And by all the time, I don't mean you have to like work out every day. A lot of people in America, for example, are like, oh, it's just all about diet, supplements, and workouts in the gym. Especially workouts and diet are important pillars. In my opinion, a lot of people just don't even need any supplements at all if their diet is on point. But then that's it. It ends there. But there's so many more variables to consider. I mean, the human system, there are many of them to consider. And it goes far beyond just like diet and exercise. So it's important to also like expand your horizon and understand that when I say consistent, it doesn't mean you need to be working out every day, but at least, like eating, you could be eating like organic food or whatever per day, or, concentrating on your mental health. That's still being attentive to your mental and physical health throughout the day. So some things that have worked for me, again, the foundation is really just having it be like a huge core value. It's part of your DNA. And if it's not, then, you can have the best gyms in the world, the best coaches in the world, all the information. You can go to pubmed.gov and find a lot of the best studies in the world at your fingertips, in which they are in the US, but yet 9 out of 10 Americans are metabolically sick. Like 90% of American adults are metabolically sick and stuff of that sort. So it clearly shows that although the tools are available and you can hire amazing coaches online, I'm actually in the process of hiring one again for myself here. You could have all those tools available, but if it's not a core priority and you're not ready to stop living a life of normalized mental and physical pathology, it does no good at the end of the day. So at that point, if you fail at that level, then you'll just continue to fail over and over and over again. Some other things that have helped tremendously as well is also I engineered a lifestyle that's more health-centered instead of work-centered. So a lot of people are living a life that it's very work-centered. So their work takes up pretty much their whole life, and then any little bit of time they have, they allocate towards their mental or physical health goals if they're already not burned out. But unfortunately, a lot of people are in late stages of adrenal fatigue. It's kind of like a very broad term, but I'm trying to keep this this video very, very basic and quite quick. In late stages of adrenal fatigue, so they don't even have energy a lot of times to devote to, for example, workouts or meditation practices, or good dietary practices, etc., etc. And so it doesn't get done, right? So what I've established is kind of basically like a health-centered lifestyle. So basically, I attend to my mental and physical health goals or aesthetic goals or whatever they may be. They kind of fluctuate over the decades as well. You got to be flexible to that. And then whatever time I have remaining, I allocate to my work. And surprisingly, this has actually worked out even better for me to become even better at my work, because I have so much more time to devote to my studies and continued education, etc., etc. Writing books, doing research. I'm almost done with my third book on, I'll actually keep it a surprise, but almost done with my third book. It should be out very soon. I'm already having like an editor and illustrator work on it, so it's already written. and stuff of that sort. So creating an environment that makes it easy to attend to your mental and physical health goals is extremely important too. And everyone's going to be different in terms of how to do that, because everyone's goals are different as well. So obviously nature is a novelty generator, and everyone's different, so you got to find out the path that works for you. But a good place to start is to find people that have already done it, copy their model, and then tinker and customize it to your needs over time, if that's important for you. Okay. But the reason I even was thinking about this, because just health and wellness and biodynamically raised food, eating pasture raised meats, learning a lot about psychology, philosophy. I've been into quantum psychology now for like 6 or 7 years, quite heavily, et cetera, et cetera. That's always been an interest for me. I've never had to motivate myself to do that stuff, So it's been part of my DNA and part of my core values. And luckily I was just very clear on that from a very early age as well. So again, it returns back to, if it's not part of your core values, not part of your DNA, your foundation is quite broken in that area of life. And no matter how great of a house you try to build on top of it, it's going to crumble no matter what. Another tip that really works is, and I got this honestly from Stefan Walensky from my studies of quantum psychology, is the mind is always changing its mind. And a lot of people are overly identified with their mind and the thoughts that it produces, including their entire character and persona. And oftentimes they kind of merge and flow into the thoughts of the mind. So notice, the mind is always changing its mind. Today, for example, in regards to this topic, you want to work out. Tomorrow, you don't want to work out. The next day, you're like indifferent. Same with either relationships. Today, you don't like your partner and wish that you would have picked someone else, and only focus on their negative attributes. Tomorrow, you love your partner and are so happy with them and focus on their positive attributes. The third day, you're just indifferent and you don't care about the relationship and don't care about which direction it goes. So notice, the mind is always changing its mind, so you can't rely on the mind for consistency, okay? And if you do try to rely on the mind, don't be surprised if you're constantly wishy-washy with everything, because that's just the nature of the mind, is just to change its mind and constantly be very active on top of that. So if you over-identify with the contents of the mind and presume it's you, obviously you're not going to be very consistent with much. So what I do is tend to fall back on general principles and procedures. And remember, it's not procedural unless it's done every time, no matter what the mind suggests that day. So for me, I always work out around this time, around like 8 a.m. or so, 5 days a week, all the time. Like today, I wasn't really enthusiastic about it, but I'm still here. And I'm going to get a good workout in and push myself no matter what, because that's a procedure. And it's not procedural unless it's done every time. So there's a lot to go over there. But I'm just going to touch on it briefly here. I'm pretty sure you guys can kind of connect the dots for the most part. If you're interested in a real change, you'll figure out a way how to do it. And another thing that could help you is also, or that has helped me personally, is obviously having like a well thought out workout program, et cetera, and stuff of that sort. But some little things that could help, it actually flows back into motivation, is sometimes I like to go for a run or a walk and listen to just motivational people. I find like Tony Robbins great to listen to, Les Brown, even some of Jordan Peterson's motivational stuff, Joe Rogan's motivational stuff. When I go for runs, sometimes it's great to listen to like David Goggins. I've been following him like way back when I think he was just doing like a commercial, like a running commercial for the Navy before he became very popular. He's kind of like running in the mountains here and there. And he's like, oh, I wake up at like 4 a.m. in the morning. I don't even have a TV. I go for like X amount of runs, et cetera, et cetera. And that kind of discipline and lifestyle always appealed to me. And I always enjoyed that part of the health journey of learning how to be disciplined. even more so than, you know, building an aesthetically appealing body and looking great, which is great. But that's the part I enjoyed most, kind of learning about the mind and how to discipline it in a way to be a lot more consistent with your goals, etc., and it kind of achieve what you want to achieve. And I do feel, you know, being very disciplined gives you a lot of freedom, because again, you don't fall at the wishy-washy nature of the content of the mind, because if you get kind of stuck in that game, again, the mind is always changing its mind. It's extremely elusive, and it'll keep you very inconsistent with a lot of things in life and frustrated on top of that. So that's it. I mean, there are a lot of other stuff I do, obviously, but those three or four things, I forgot how much I mentioned at this point, kind of like literally just woke up 30 minutes ago, can go a long way, okay? But you got to find out what works for you. That has worked for me, and there's a lot of other stuff I'm doing too that I didn't mention here. So don't take it at like face value. That's literally all I'm doing, and that's literally all you got to do to be successful. So there's a lot more to it, because that's just the complexity of the external world and human nature. And the thing is, remember, everyone is different, okay? So use people that have achieved what you want to achieve as an example, maybe hire them as a mentor, learn from them, but eventually you're going to have to tinker and find your own way, and that's literally the only way. So I hope that helps.